Okay, everyone. Very good evening to all of you. Daylon, I'm the founder of CuriousCore, and today we have a special 45 minutes webinar where I'll be answering one of the key questions that you may have in your head, which is getting a career in tech during the recession. Okay, so we're going to answer this in a specific context of user experience design because that's what we do best. But we're happy to answer any questions. If you have questions about breaking into software engineering, product management, data analytics, happy to help along as a career coach as well. Okay, so with that, let's begin by sharing the context about why are we doing this particular webinar. Well, first of all, in case you haven't noticed, we are actually 7 months into the new year, right? So 7 months have already passed by. We have slightly less than 5 months remaining. That's why we decided to do this special webinar for the community and for the public, where we can answer any questions that you may have. So feel free to actually type them in chat, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on our Zoom webinar session. So despite the recession, or so-called the analysts mentioning there might be a recession or some form of recession happening, the IT sector or the tech sector in Singapore is still hiring, right? And in fact, the hiring is outpacing the retrenchment by 26 times, according to Vulcan polls. And tech talent is still very much in demand. This is a December 2021 article where it expects hiring to pick up in 2022. Okay, so we have sort of the general picture whereby, yes, there's a recession. Yes, some companies in tech are letting go of workers, but in general, the sector and the entire industry is still pretty strong. And there's still sort of like this general demand. Why is that so? Well, because if you understand the effects of COVID and the effects that it has on business, it's actually forcing businesses to accelerate their transformation, their digital channels and things like that. So a lot more businesses are investing in e-commerce, they're investing in their digital channels, they're building digital products to compete effectively with some of these startups. An example of that would actually be Comfort, who is competing with Grab effectively, right? So they have invested in their own app and they encourage people to use their own app, and therefore they're hiring people as well for their tech team. The same thing can be said with Singapore Airlines, right? Because of the dropped in terms of the physical presence, a lot of people are using online bookings right now for Singapore Airlines, and therefore they are also improving their tech team. Okay, so I want to ask everyone here who's tuning into this webinar this question, right? Do you face any of the following conditions? For example, imposter syndrome, where you feel like, hey, you want to transition to work in tech, but then you feel quite an imposter, right? Maybe you feel you're not good enough. Are you facing constant rejections from your job hunt or job search, right? Maybe you try and send your CV to multiple companies, or you try and send your portfolio to multiple companies, but then you're not able to get any interviews, or you're not able to get any job offers, right? Are you also losing motivation as you are actually doing your job search, right? Or perhaps you don't actually know where to start because there's so much information. You're not sure who to believe. And perhaps that's where you kind of have that paralysis whereby you don't actually know where to begin in this case. And or are you unaware about how to position yourself as a mid-career candidate in this case? So these are some of the common issues, right? Many people before they come to our program that they face and we've actually helped solve as career coaches in general. Okay, so how many of you can relate to this? Just give me a thumbs up in the reaction button if you're in our live Zoom session right now, right? Any of these things. Okay. Okay, so I see quite a number of you are facing such issues. So let's do a simple diagnosis, okay? And I'm going to do it in the context of a UX design, but if you want me to change it to your context, maybe you're looking for a role in another vertical, such as product management, we can also do that. But first of all, I'd like each of you who's here on this webinar to give me 4 numbers, not to buy 4D, okay, but to give me 4 numbers to actually help me to understand, you know, where is your status. So you can private message me if you feel a little bit embarrassed to share the rest, or you can actually just type it in chat, and then I'll tell you what is the diagnosis later, okay? So just take the next couple of minutes, give me these 4 magic numbers. Estimated is okay. Okay, let's look at it for the last couple of months that you've been trying. What does it look like? Okay, so I got a number which is 3300, right? I got a number which is 20000. Okay, so quite a number. Okay, anyone else? Okay, let's start with the first number that someone gave me, right? 3300. Okay, so let me explain to you what's the problem and what's the situation over here. So this individual who has applied 30 jobs and got 3 interviews, but did not get any follow-ups for design challenge and job offers. Okay, what is the problem over here? Okay, so first of all, if I were to guess, right, in terms of your issues, and you can let me know whether it's true as well. Okay, the problem is that you have difficulty presenting your experience to the interviewers so that they don't find it convincing enough that you want to be a UX designer, or they don't find that you're even sort of like worthy to move on to the next stage of the challenge. So you actually do have a problem selling yourself in the initial interview, right? Yeah. Okay. So the candidate just confirmed with me that is correct. Okay. So what do you need to do, right? So you came here today. What exactly do you need to do? Well, I would say in terms of the conversion rate, right? Applying for 30 jobs but getting 3 first interviews is actually pretty good, right? It means there's something in your profile that stands out, right? Maybe your portfolio, maybe your CV, maybe you have some relevant experience. So I think that itself, you don't need to fix it too much. But what you need to focus on is actually to improve the way you storytell, right? The way you improve, the way you present your work, the way you talk about the impact of your work, and in fact, even mention, you know, why do you want to join a company? How is your past experience transferable? And how is it relevant to this role called UX itself? Okay, so this is the first thing you need to focus on. Hopefully, what that means is that more of your first interviews will translate into design challenges or final interviews. Okay, and with that, if you do well enough, hopefully some of them will translate into job offers in this case. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the next thing I want to encourage you to do, so I have two people, right? One gave me 3300, the other gave me 20 0 0 0. Okay, so actually for both of you, you also need to apply for more jobs. Okay, because 30 or 20 is actually very, very little. Right? On average, I would say people apply anywhere between 50 to 100 UX positions. You might ask me, hey, Daylon, where do you find 50 to 100? You have to kind of broaden your base, right? You can't just stick to the usual suspects, like all the top startups, right? If you only stick to that, then you're actually limiting your options. So maybe you want to also expand your base a little bit. You want to include some startups, you want to include some agencies and consulting firms like Deloitte or KPMG. So these are also companies who are hiring actively for UX talent as well. So don't just limit yourself to a select group of like top tech companies. Okay, so that's the two things I want to mention to you on the diagnosis itself. Okay, so let's look at the second person, right? The second person told me 20,000. Okay, so what's the problem? Okay, the main problem with 20,000 and then no conversion is actually could be two areas. One, it could be the CV, right? Second, it could be the portfolio. Now, what could be wrong with the CV, right? There could be multiple issues with the CV in terms of how it's being written. Right, maybe this person has the CV shows a lot of job hopping, right? So maybe especially the thing from a perspective of an employer, right? Let's say they want to take you in as a new hire in tech. If you display this job hop tendency, it's even more risk for them in this case, right? So if it's even more risky for them, you need to find a way to explain or to justify to help them manage the risk. Okay, so in this case, other than increasing the number of job applications that you have, you also need to relook at your CV, and you also need to relook at your portfolio. So I have two approaches for you to consider to relook at your CV and portfolio. Okay. Number one, for your CV, you might want to consider asking a professional recruiter, like a headhunter or something like that, reaching out to a professional recruiter because they see a lot of CVs. Ask them if you can work with them. And if, let's say, they feel your profile is not suitable, ask them if they have any feedback on your CV, right? So you get feedback from a professional recruiter who has seen a lot of CVs. That's one. So this is the free way of doing it. The second thing is for your portfolio. What do you do for your portfolio? You can go to this website called adplist.org, right? And you can look for a mentor who may be able to give you some feedback on your portfolio to do some tweaks on the portfolio itself. So these are two of the free options, other than like paying a career coach to help you out and stuff like that. So that's something I would encourage you to do. If you have any friends or any ex-colleagues, for example, who used to be in the UX design field or are currently in the UX design field, I think you should also try and reach out to them and ask for help. Okay, so that's my advice. There could be problems with the CV, there could be problems with the portfolio. Either one of them could lead to what we see in terms of like the 20,000 count. Okay. Okay, another situation, we have another 4 magic numbers from another candidate over here. Okay, so the magic number is 9820. 90 job applications, 8 first interviews, and 2 design challenges, and 0 job offers. So what's the problem over here? Okay, what the problem over here is this. In terms of the conversion rate from the jobs to the first interview is okay. So that means your CV and portfolio is quite okay, right? And you got some offers to do final interviews and design challenge, which is also good. Okay. However, you might want to consider practicing more and strengthening the way you introduce your work or your portfolio so that it's not an 8-2 kind of ratio, right? Between first interview and design challenge. Hopefully it's an 8-4 kind of ratio at least, or 8-6 kind of ratio. Okay, so that's the number one thing you need to strengthen. The second thing, right? How do we convert design challenge into job offers? Okay, what I'd like you to do if you haven't actually done so is to consider reaching out to the companies that you have done a design challenge or a final interview with and asking for feedback from them. Okay, and usually if you've done a design challenge for them, I think they'll be more than open and more than happy to do so for you. Okay, so ask them for feedback. And at the same time, usually if you don't, let's say you do a final interview and you don't get a job offer, right? Usually it's because of culture fit issues, right? So maybe one of the things you might want to ask is maybe talk to your ex-colleagues to see if there's anything that you can improve on in terms of your personality, or even some of your friends who work in the tech industry, right? Have a chat with them and to see whether, like, is there anything that you can improve on in terms of how you present yourself, okay? Because culture fit is one of the key things hiring managers look for as well. Like, are you like a collaborative person in general, right? Do you think about problems critically? And can you actually, do the work itself and be able to work under that kind of timeline pressure, right? Because in tech, we work very fast and sometimes we work with very, very limited resources. So are you able to demonstrate all of these qualities that I just mentioned to you? And if you're able to demonstrate that, that gives you a better chance. Okay, so these 4 questions are actually very helpful to determine whether, which part of your job search has more problems. Okay, and you can use it to strengthen it. So for you, you apply 90 jobs, like that to me is a lot already. So it already shows very clearly you have problems presenting your work and presenting yourself. And then you also have problems sort of being able to fit into the culture. Okay, so kind of find a way to improve your communication skills. I hope that makes sense for the one who gave me that number. Okay, any other numbers you all want to give me? Okay, so to reiterate, right, if you have sent a lot of jobs, but you don't, you have applied for a number of jobs, but then you don't get any first interviews, or very little, less than 10% of first interviews, and the rest of the figures are 0, that means that you have problems with your portfolio and your CV, right? And the free option is to reach out to other people for help, or you could actually enroll in a program like ours to actually fix these problems. Okay, we have a 4-month UX program that could help fix some of these problems and manage some of these problems better. Now, if you have problems, let's say you apply for jobs, right? And then you got first interviews, but then you don't get design challenges and job offers, that means you have problems presenting yourself as an individual. So you need more practice. You need to be able to learn how to do storytelling. And our program also does share with you the structure on how to do storytelling and some practice moments on doing that storytelling, okay, with your career coach and with mock interviewers in our program. Okay, and last, the third one, let's say you have design challenges, right? But then you don't have job offers. That means maybe your culture fit is not there. Okay, so what you can do is that maybe you can actually talk to people in the tech industry, or can talk to the interviewer, ask for feedback to see how you can be of better culture fit in this case. Okay, so that I think would actually help strengthen your profile a little bit. You might even want to highlight certain things in your CV about the values that you hold and their values as a company, right? So making sure there's sort of like a values match in this case to strengthen your case in terms of the culture fit. Okay. Is this useful for those of you who are listening so far? If it is, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, I see a few thumbs up. Okay, awesome. All right. So I'm going to answer some Q&A, and thank you to those who drop in your questions before the webinar session on our Instagram. Okay, so I'm just going to answer some questions. Okay, so I have a question from our IG, our Instagram. Many Singapore job descriptions seems to need HTML, CSS, Adobe, and non-Figma for job applications. Do I need to learn any of these things? Okay, so thank you for your question, and there's no straightforward answer to it. Okay, it depends on the company and the job description. So when a company says they need HTML and CSS, okay, what are they looking for? They're actually looking for someone with some front-end experience. Okay, someone with some front-end experience, meaning they might have done their own website before. So if you're able to, let's say, code your own portfolio website or your bio website on your own, that could actually strengthen your case in demonstrating that you have some familiarity with HTML and CSS. So HTML and CSS is not difficult to learn. You can actually spend a day learning it and be able to kind of build your own web page with HTML and CSS. Okay, so that is something highly encourage you to learn, but not necessary to have that skill for being a UX designer. It's much more important that you do your research well. It's much more important that you do your design well. Okay, so on the second part of the question, she asked, hey, there are some non-Figma related software. Do I need to learn it? Okay, usually if you already know one of the major design software, like Figma, right, it's actually quite easy for you to pick up the rest. Okay, I would say, in fact, for Adobe, right, the Adobe software and Figma software is actually quite similar in terms of the layout, the interface. So if you know either one of them, just spend half a day to go through some tutorials and to learn the basics of it. And we also do cover it in our 2-day UX program. If you like to understand the basics of it, and that 2-day program is actually SkillsFuture claimable. Okay, then usually if you already know one of the programs, most hiring managers would understand that it's quite easy for you to pick up the next one. But if you want to join a company and they're all, let's say they're all using Adobe, then it's better that you learn Adobe and you say you can do Adobe, because they would not want to spend too much time training you in this case. So it's better that you say, hey, maybe I'm more familiar with Figma, but I have used Adobe before, and just put it in your profile when you submit your job application to them. Okay, if not, HR might filter you out in this case. So I hope that answers your question from our IG subscriber. Okay, I have a fun question. Someone asked me, what do I do in an interview if I'm starving? Okay, this one is a very interesting question, and I would say, as much as possible, maybe prepare some lozenges. So maybe I think I love those Himalayan salt lemon candy lozenges, because I teach a lot, so I like to chew on it sometimes, and I think that can stave off hunger a little bit and also ease your throat so that you can speak better. Okay, so that's my suggestion. If you're hungry, if not, just try and drink some water, right? Ask for permission, drink some water or some kind of beverage, or even drink milk before the interview. hopefully that can help stave off some of your hunger. Okay, so that's from another question from one of our IG subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed to our IG channel, which is our Instagram channel, please do so and follow us. Okay, it's CuriousCore. Okay, third question. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to drop in the chat as well. Third question I have is, how can I start my career in Singapore with only 2 years of IT experience? Okay, so there are many ways to go about doing it. Okay, number one, if you are a foreigner and you want to work in Singapore, that's a little bit more challenging, right? Unless you already have existing UX design or the specific tech experience, okay, usually employers in the local market will want to look for local hires in this case, okay? But let's say you are a Singapore PR or you're a Singaporean, and let's say you have 2 years of IT experience, maybe you're in another field, maybe you're in tech support or something like that, okay? The best way to start your career is actually to work in Singapore. Okay, and there are many ways to go about doing it. Okay, number one, you could do an internship in Singapore, right? You can arrange an internship, show that you can work in Singapore and that you're familiar with that. So that lowers the perceived risk if someone wants to take you in. Okay, number two, you can perhaps consider taking one of our programs, which is the 4-month program, especially because we work on real projects. And with that, that actually helps you to work with fellow Singaporeans, and you understand the working culture of working with fellow Singaporeans in a Singapore program. Okay, so that could potentially also help you in your case. Okay, the third option is perhaps something you can try, which is freelance. So let's say you have some design skills or some skills and you're maybe based overseas in this case, right? What you can do is maybe you can do some freelance work. You can do some consulting work first for smaller startups or for the startups in your country, in your region, and build up a commercial portfolio. Because what's important today is not going to Google, doing the course, and then, because a lot of people took the Google UX course, by the way, so there's nothing special about that certification. What's more important is that you demonstrate that you're able to work with a real client, you're able to see a project through from start to end, and you're able to work with a team, right? So our program does provide that in this case. So that is one thing you might want to consider doing. Okay, so I have another question in the chat over here. Quite a few job listings for UI and UX designers list Adobe Photoshop Illustrator or Illustrator as a requirement. Is that necessary? Okay, so those job listings sound like they are looking for someone with more visual design experience. So you have to ask yourself, if you are selected for the job, do you want to be more of a visual designer? Okay, or they might just be listing it because they're trying to broadly target a lot of candidates. So for me, I think my general advice to people is that if you can fit 70 to 80% of the job description, just apply for the job. Okay, if you can fit 70 to 80% of the experience, just apply for the job. If you can, whenever possible, if you really, really like the company, please write a cover letter to explain why you want to join a company, right? In HR, we always say, what are your push and pull factors, right? So for you, it's like, why do you want to join a company? What's pushing you out of your current role? But also explain in your letter what is the transferable experience and what's the value you can bring to the company, and make sure you target the job description, right? You make it easier for HR. HR appreciates it. They also forward your profile to the hiring manager. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Do we have other questions that we might be able to answer from anyone? Okay. So if some of you what about those of you who are thinking of transitioning to other tech sectors? Any questions from you? You can also unmute yourself for those of you who are in the live webinar. Looks like we're all good. Okay. So in summary, okay, please do a diagnosis for yourself first. Okay, and based on the diagnosis, you can have a chat with us to see, or with me to see whether we can help you in the program. Okay, we run 2 career conversion programs. The first is for product management, and the second is for user experience design. But we're known for our user experience design program. Product management, we just launched it this year. And currently for product management, we're not accepting new people because we're waiting for the approval of our product management program to be WSQ certified. So with that, we will actually run the program, and for Singaporeans or Singapore PR, you'll be able to get subsidies. Okay. So if you need more information on our UX Career Accelerator program, okay, feel free to check out the link that I put over here. And it answers all the questions that you have, right? Including some of the common issues, right? That you might face in the job search. Our program is very much focused on not just the theoretical aspect of user experience design, but also on equipping you with the necessary career skills, right? To ensure that you have a smooth transition and a transition whereby we're guiding you in the process. Okay. Moreover, okay, we are also not a program whereby you just sit in the class and you just listen to a lecture, right? So we are actually a very hands-on program. We learn by doing. So that you have 3 commercial projects to work on. You don't have to find them, right? You don't even have to find your team members. We'll match them with fellow people joining the program automatically. Okay, so this means, what does this mean? This means that you can focus fully on the learning. You don't have to actually like do everything yourself and try and think about, hey, what do you need to study in order to get good at UX? Or even think about, hey, who should you find? Or what kind of freelance projects should you find in order to build your portfolio? Okay, so all this is all handled by you. And if you're interested to speak with me further, you're more than welcome to fill out the form later. Okay, and we can have a one-on-one chat for 15 minutes to 30 minutes to see how we can help you or assist you further in this case. Okay, so feel free to check out CuriousCore.com for our 4-month program, right? UX Career Accelerator program, and also our short courses. Okay, our 2-day courses are Skills Future certified, and you're welcome to use your Skills Future credit to help you out. Okay, so if there are no further questions, I shall leave this webinar as it is. Let me just wait for a few seconds. Any other questions from the crowd or the audience? Okay, so most importantly, I hope whatever I've shared with you today, you take some form of action. Okay, if you're just coming to listen, it feels good, you know the knowledge, but then if you don't apply it, if you don't take any form of action, it's not going to help you. It's not going to change where you are in your state of life. So for those of you who would like to keep up with our content, feel free to find us on YouTube as well. We actually do post a lot of career-related questions. In fact, every month I share a coaching question of the month. So you can also refer to some of the past videos. If you need some help in terms of being coached, some of these questions could help you out in your job hunt process. Okay. And with that, I shall end this webinar session. Thank you everyone for attending this very short but full session. And I hope you got something out of it today. Happy to, of course, have a conversation for those of you who are not in our program. We very much like to have a chat with you to see how our program can support your career transition, as well as help you to get a job and get a career in the tech industry, okay, in the coming year. And with that, stay curious. Signing out as Daylon. Take care.